Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May the 10th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Actually, I didn't work today, so that was nice. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. I know mine's going very well so far. I will say I did it a little bit different, especially for an off day. I decided to go ahead and just get my laundry done. It kind of just lines up with my weekend plans. So I figured, hey, let's just go ahead, call off, do some laundry, just hang out for the day, just really just lounge, just relax. So that'll be good. That'll be nice. Well, I mean, it is so far. I'm hoping that the rest of this day goes well post podcast. We'll see. I actually still have a sticky bun waiting for me, so I might have to tell you how that goes. But let's see. Starting off with food, let's just get into the food corner. While I was at the laundromat, I got some little donut items. Outside of sticky bun, I did get a long john that was filled with white icing. It was very good, but I got like halfway through it and it was just so filling. Like I was just like, okay, I'm kind of good on it, and I kind of forced it, and I was like, all right, I'm good now. And then what else did I get? I got my classic cream cheese raspberry swirl, the raspberry storm, if you will. It was very yummy, didn't disappoint. But yeah, all that filling filled me up. No pause. But yeah, no. Let's see. Going further back in time, last night, I ate some, a little bit of my Asian inspired, a little Thursday meal that I usually like to cook up. I can't say that it was like Korean fried chicken this time because I didn't use that kit. I just had some fried chicken that I had in the bag, put that out. I had some rice, white rice, and then I had these volcano noodles. And the best way I can describe them is they're a knockoff of the Budok noodles that are very yummy. I've talked about them on the pod before. Super fucking spicy. So good, though. Very tasty. But I got this like black bag of these noodles, and so it's very comparable to that. And I will say it was pretty good. I was glad that it didn't disappoint. It had a nice spice factor. I was definitely sweating, so it gets the Isaiah's newsstand stamp of approval. There you go. Let's see here, and some egg rolls. So yeah, we did it up. We dressed it all up. All nice and right. It was really good. So yeah, that's all I've eaten and consumed. That's all I've done up until now from pod to pod. Let's go ahead and do our startup and get into some news. Let me get to the right article. There we go. That's that. All right. Ooh. All right. First story comes from the Associated Press. Senate passes bill improving air safety and service for travelers a day before FAA law expires. The Senate has passed a $105 billion bill designed to improve safety and customer service for air travelers a day before the law governing the Federal Aviation Administration expires. The bipartisan bill comes after a series of close calls between planes at the nation's airports, aims to boost the number of air traffic controllers amid a shortage, improve safety standards, and make it easier for customers to get refunds after flights are delayed or canceled, among other measures. After passing the legislation on a strong 88 to 4 vote, the Senate passed a 1 week extension to ensure the law doesn't expire before the House considers the bill next week. The FAA said it would have had to furlough around 3,600 workers if the law expired at midnight Friday. So this is something that I overall am happy to see. It seems like it's good for the public in general. There's a little bit of details in here that I kind of don't really feel like getting into, but it was also weird to see like motherfuckers like Senator Ted Cruz try to like make this about like, hey, I want to have like these long haul flights. I think out of like San Diego or something like that. Essentially, kind of making it about him, and there was other lawmakers, but he was just kind of one of the guys spearheading it. And it's like, dude, like I get it. Like you're an employee, you care about your commuter truck to work, but at the end of the day, like this is more about commuters making sure that they don't die on a plane, and not to mention not just dying on a plane. We talked last year about all the crazy delays and shit from like snowstorms and just general natural weather shit, and like how people were literally just stranded and shit out of luck. So it's good that there's going to be more provisions and things set in place to make sure that people are compensated at least more properly, instead of just saying, oh, we're so sorry, too bad, maybe you can like maybe get a hotel and like for a night or something. So it's just good there's just more provisions now, more things set in place for people to be able to be reimbursed if things just go completely foobar. And it's like, hey, I paid you for this thing, like, and I can't get there. Okay, I get it. There's a storm, there's a natural disaster, whatever. But like, can you at least make sure that I'm compensated so I can still find another way to get home, or like make this okay so that I can like not have to sleep at a fucking airport, lobby, situation, So yeah, overall, I think this is a good thing. But a little bit of intrigue there if you want to read it, get into the details by all fucking means. Let's move on to the next beat, though. We're ripping, we're rolling. From USA Today, attorney for slain airman sheriff dig in after release of shooting body camera footage. So this is an update on a story I talked about earlier in the week, or it might have been at the top of last week, like around Sunday, I'm not sure. But let's see. I got a burp coming, maybe. There it is. Excuse me. An active duty U.S. airman was shot and killed during a deputy-involved shooting on May 3rd. Roger Fortson, 23, was shot and killed by an Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputy when, according to the department, the deputy was responding to a disturbance in progress. And I want to add here, the way that the language was laid out to us before the body camera footage comes out is that, oh, the cop reacted in self-defense. He had to do this. It had to happen. So, and I said, it's like, look, we don't have that footage out here yet. I don't really know what to say. Am I really going to trust the fucking law enforcement? No, the fuck I'm not. But like, let's just see what it is and then we'll get back into it. So this is where we're at now. But the Fortson family retained civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who has accused the department of covering up misconduct in the aftermath of the shooting. Essentially, this kind of divulged into like, yes, we have the body camera footage, but we have like two different perspectives on it. Like you have the cops, and then you have like more or less what Ben Crump and the family are saying. Let's see here. The video released Thursday indicates that the deputy was given a specific room number by a woman at the apartment complex, and that he clearly knocked on a door and identified himself as being a deputy. Though no sound from within the apartment indicates a violent argument of the type described by the woman in the video occurring when the deputy arrived, Aiden said Mr. Forson's comments indicate that he did acknowledge it was law enforcement at his door, and that he arrived at the door with a firearm in his hand. So they're trying to say that it's like, look, there's clear indication that Fortson knew who was there, but he came to the door anyway with the firearm, therefore justifying the fact that he gets blown away by a fucking cop. The video indicates that the deputy stood on the side of the door out of sight of the peephole and began firing immediately after the door was open, which is a key fucking detail, because it's like, Marvel, what the fuck if the cop doesn't actually announce himself? Because that's more or less what Crump is saying on his version of the story, Crump and the family. And they're like, no, what if the cop doesn't announce himself? Because that's what we're saying. Like, you are having a redacted version of this. And essentially not knowing that for Fortson, he is on a video call with his girlfriend. He's FaceTiming her. And essentially he gets a knock on the door, very aggressive pound. He goes to the door. He can't see who it is. And this is the thing I was kind of spacing out on. To some extent, to play devil's advocate, I can understand why a cop is going to have this notion of being like, I'm going to step away from the door. because I think this guy's armed, which goes to show that's like, that this person is armed. Like, maybe you have some inclination, right? Like, maybe you know who this is. I don't know the details on that, but I'm guessing because I've covered even stories where, cops have been like, oh shit, we get to the door and boom, boom, boom. But it's like, no, you're stepping away from the door. But like, now how can you acknowledge who this is by a peephole? Like, that just feels like that's bad. Like, you're asking for trouble in this kind of situation. But I guess the way the situation more or less transpires, I know I'm kind of just riffing here at this point. I should try to bring it back to Krupp's version. But like, the door gets opened. Fortson still has the gun. The cop immediately reacts and then just boom, 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 shoots him. And that's more or less where we're at now. Let me see here. An attorney from Crump's office said the law firm has located an unofficial redacted 911 call that has led them to believe a disturbance had been reported to the leasing office at the Ellen apartment from what we believe to be a fourth party. She said the attorneys representing the Fortson family believe the disturbance call was the one that brought deputies to the scene of the fatal shooting, but continue to seek answers. Let's see. Let me go ahead and read this. Yeah, in the 4.5-minute heavily redacted video, it is very troubling that the deputy gave no verbal commands and shot multiple times within a split second of the door being open, killing Roger. Despite the redactions, the video has provided some answers, but it has also raised even more troubling questions, as the officer didn't tell Roger to drop the weapon before shooting. Was the officer trained to give verbal warnings? Did the officer try to initiate life-saving measures? Was the officer trained to deal with law-abiding citizens who are registered gun owners? So I do feel like these are definitely very relevant details that we are now learning. It definitely kind of makes sense why this guy, the sheriff's deputy, whatever, was put on administrative leave. That, that definitely kind of fits. But we'll see. I mean, if roles were reversed and let's say this cop was completely justified to be like hiding and ducking around and he gets killed, guess what? Fortson is going to go to jail and he's going to be in jail for a very long time. I mean, who knows? Maybe we're talking death penalty some fucking how. But like, we'll see how this goes the other way around. But I mean, we'll see what happens in terms of justice getting served. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, when you're a cop, you just have a fucking license to kill. You know what I mean? You just get to fucking do this shit, and it's not really going to be second guessed too much. But I believe that what had happened was essentially Fortson was on a conversation with his girlfriend. I don't know what kind of conversation that was had or whatever. Maybe this led people to think that there was some kind of domestic situation happening. But once again, this is just me speculating. I don't have more details. Sadly, the more we know, the less we really have. Like, the more questions we're going to have, at least. You know what I mean? So, but still, this lines up with what I expected, that the cops are going to come out with their narrative, and it's going to be like, we didn't really do anything wrong. It's crazy that he came to the door with a gun, almost like he's asking for it. But it's like, what do you mean? Like, you're aggressively knocking at my door at some random ass hour. I'm not expecting it. I don't know who the fuck you are. And next thing you know, I'm getting blown away, and it doesn't matter who I am. I am a registered gun owner. I am a serviceman. I'm fucking with the U.S. Air Force. It just goes to show it doesn't matter who you are. They go, oh, black man gun, boom, done. No questions. I'm going to shoot first. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's so fucking frustrating. But at the same time, I've said this before on the podcast, like, I have those ruminations kind of going back and forth. Like, where do I feel about myself? Like, do you, you're a local Ohioan. Like, no one's going to bat an eye if you have a gun. Like, that's kind of like standard operating procedure around here. But it's like, yeah, but it's just not worth it. I just really don't think it is. You know what I mean? I would like to have, like, as much protection, as I'm allowed as an American, of course, for sure. But, like, it's crazy how those things just get used against you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have to sprinkle the crack on the face anymore. It's just like, well, you had a gun, so I'm justified to just blow you away. And it's like, but like, I got the gun to defend myself against people, like, who would come to my door and blow me away. It's just it's a cruel kind of irony. Like, I don't know, man. Edgar Allan Poe should have read about that shit before he died in a dumpster. I don't know. Let's move on to the next thing, though. We're actually going from one police thing to another police thing. So I love that for me. I love that for us, the U.S., and us, in general, you and I, because we're in this together, of course. From CNN. Houston police chief retires suddenly after questions raised about more than 260,000 suspended cases. Yeah, crazy to say that number out loud. That's a lot. That's a lot of cases. Houston's police chief unexpectedly retired from the force Tuesday night amid questions about a department policy that allowed hundreds of thousands of cases to be suspended, including sexual abuse cases, according to the mayor's office. Troy Finner, who had served as chief of Houston Police Department since 2021, capping off a 34 career with the department. Houston Mayor John Whitmore was giving him his regards, his little flowers or whatever. But it's also kind of crazy to be like, he didn't back him. He's like, no, it makes sense that he leaves. So that to me is also a red flag that this was something that was like not due diligence doesn't seem like it was being done here, is what I'm trying to get at. But we'll dig in a little further. The retirement announcement came hours after an internal email obtained by CNN affiliate KHOU showed Finner referring to an investigation being suspended due to lack of personnel in 2018, 3 years before he had said he was aware of the policy. Finner was executive assistant chief over patrol operations at the time the email was written. At a February news conference, Finner said he didn't know about the practice until 2021, the year he became chief, when he ordered the department's Special Victims Division to stop using the lack of personnel code to suspend investigations. Finner said in the April Police Department he made progress reviewing about 264,000 investigations that were suspended since 2016, citing only lack of personnel. More than 4,000 of those cases involved allegations of adult sex crimes. An independent review committee is also investigating. In a statement issued Tuesday night after the KHOU report aired, Finner said, "I have always been truthful and have never set out to mislead anyone about anything, including this investigation." Though that just doesn't line up with actions, because then why wouldn't you just stay at your job and defend yourself? Like, like, it's crazy that this email hits and all of a sudden you're running for the door. Like, it's very suspicious. And it just like, oh, well, maybe this doesn't really line up to what your words are saying according to this, what we know now. And it's a shame because it just kind of goes to show the statement of like, and I know like we're not necessarily talking about dead people, but it's that statement of like the less dead, or like people who are involved in any kind of sex crime or anything like that are less important to us, and we're going to down prioritize them. And essentially they just put a bumper sticker code on this saying, oh, we just don't have the bodies, as if this is like a busy day at a fucking McDonald's. Like, not to downplay McDonald's workers or anything, but the idea is like, no, motherfucker, you're a cop. Like, you guys are law enforcement. At the end of the day, you guys get so much fucking money. To me, there is no excuse for you to be like, oh, we just don't have the manpower. Like, well, make the fucking tank do it. I don't give a shit. Get this fucking money on the street. Get it to work. I don't want to hear it. So to cry this kind of thing of like, we just don't have the manpower for years and years and years and years and years, why these cases rot and rot and rot. And it's talked about a lot in true crime, where you have this situation of like, time is of the essence. The longer you let a case like this goes, the harder it is to prove it, and the more likely it's going to be that a case like an assault is going to escalate into something like a murder. So that means you had a chance to save someone here and you let it slip because you had better things to fucking do. You had more things, more pressing matters. You know what I mean? It's just fucked up. So I wanted to make sure to put this Troy guy on the map before he, Amscrade, left the scene. Because essentially I think he just kind of wants to pass the buck along to the next guy. And of course he's like, well, I'm the new guy on the scene. Of course we're handling it. I'm sure they got his name out here. Who gives a shit? The outgoing chief said he didn't know, lack of personnel. Larry Satterwhite was appointed acting police chief by Whitmire Wednesday. Satterwhite served as executive assistant chief under Finner. The mayor declined to say whether he had asked for Finner's retirement. So yeah, there you go. That's our little cop block for today, and a little police action. Let's see. Let me go ahead and do my last break, and we will call it for today. How's that sound? Hopefully it sounds good. Okay. God, I love it. I love talking about police. I love it. It's my favorite fucking thing, dude. They're so cool. All right. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm thinking about the Incredible Hulk when Edward Norton does the breathing exercises to control his anger, um, so he doesn't Hulk out. Anyway, from NBC News, Stormy Daniels' payment puts focus on Trump and check writing as trial testimony resumes. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really just using this as a riffing post. I really just want to talk about the Stormy Daniels part. We might riff to some of the other things, but this is mostly a Stormy Daniels recap because she just wrapped up her testimony Thursday. Whew. Former President Donald Trump's criminal trial resumed Friday in New York City with testimony from his former White House executive assistant, a far friendlier witness than Thursday star attraction, adult film star Stormy Daniels. Madeleine Westerhout began her testimony in Manhattan Criminal Court Thursday afternoon after Stormy Daniels spent the morning sparring with Trump attorney Susan Nichols. Or Necklace, sorry. Her name is, it's spelled in a very funky way, and of course, y'all know I can't pronounce shit. But I'm pretty sure it's Necklace. During cross-examination about her claim that she had a sexual encounter with Trump in 2006, Trump lawyer Michael Cohen paid Daniels $130,000 to keep quiet about the allegation during the 2016 presidential election. Trump later reimbursed Cohen in payments. Prosecutors' charge were covered up with falsified business records. Trump has pleaded not guilty and denied Daniels' claim. And the last part is something that I feel like is more important than I really kind of have talked about or thought about. And it's the idea that I didn't really dawn on me that it's like the whole time this motherfucker hasn't copped to it, despite how like evident it is, and even to the point where it's almost like built into like both the prosecution and defense, and it's like, look, this isn't what we're arguing about. We're not arguing about whether or not Trump is a good person and like whether or not he cheats on his wife or whatever. It's like almost like a known quantity, and we're moving past that. We're just talking about the election interference, the fact of the payments to Cohen, and the fact that he didn't like actually disclose it. You know what I'm saying? That's the crime. And like it's crazy that throughout all this, Trump has stood firm on the logic, on the reality that is not real, that he literally knows that it's like he didn't have sex with her. And it's like, brother, you did. You met this motherfucker in your pajamas, and then it's like, dude, no, we're going to have actual dinner first. And then like, you have the dinner, and then you're just like, you're in your boxers. And then you're like, nah, no condom. Like, no, you had sex. And it's like, it's crazy that like, one, people are like, oh my God, the salacious details. It's like, did you expect Stormy Daniels to like come up here and not say the words that like she has sex and describe the event? Like, of course she did. Like, I don't get that. Like, that's not like that's what people are gonna do in this kind of situation to me. So I don't know why it's so like ooh, but I don't know. I'm in some ways I'm kind of at a loss for words. It was very interesting to kind of hear how this all played out in trial. I don't know in terms of like what the jury is going to take from this now. I still feel like it's going to play towards the fact of like, well, if you're pro-Trump on the jury, then like you're just like, I don't care. This is gross. Yeah, this is like so salacious, but like you made it up. But like if you're obviously against Trump, then you're like, okay, yeah, like this is really nasty. This is really icky, but this is proof that and that's the thing too. the legal team has also stuck with that story too that Trump is saying, and they put that up in the opening statement. And essentially, the judge, I think his name is Juan Merchan, he even said, he's like, look, you guys have put this into play, even though I allowed you guys to say no, don't talk about it. So you said, okay, it's not real. So now you have the prosecution. They have the ability now to bring Stormy Daniels up and have this conversation. She has to now talk about all the sort of details. And yeah, maybe she went a little too far. But it's like, there are moments where you didn't object. And like, you keep trying to get this mistrial. And no, I'm not going to fucking give it to you. And, you know, this is kind of a classic situation of you have like, even though Trump puts up so much fucking money and has like a really strong legal team, at the end of the day, they still have to defend a guy like Trump. And it's just so sloppy and it's just so crazy. And in some ways, I am kind of vexed by it, you know. That's why I can't help but talk about it from time to time. I try not to get too in the weeds about it. But yeah, it's a bit of an update. I know, a bit of a sloppy little bit there, but I feel like I got it together. I know there's going to be Michael Cohen. He's going to be testifying on Monday, I believe. That's another big character, big figure here. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool that Stormy Daniels actually testified, and it definitely seemed to be very worth the weight of it, you know. You know, she apparently, they said like she was nervous in the beginning when prosecution kind of started with her. She was a little bit she talked a little too much, wasn't like exactly like the perfect witness, what have you. But at the same time, she told the story that needed to be told. And she also did really great on cross-examination. You know what I mean? When Necklace went at her, she had the perfect retorts. And I think that really holds a lot of weight to the jury, whether you're for or against. I think probably when they have the deliberations. So yeah, and I don't know, as a plucky amateur podcaster, I can definitely respect a person being like, hey, I gotta fucking come up here and like talk my shit real quick in this new environment. But at the same time, you know, I mean, Stormy Daniels is a professional. That is for sure. On camera, off camera. So, you know, I was not surprised that she overall did well. And I thought like it was just kind of weird that people were like, she just said so much. It's like, yeah, she told details. Like, sorry, she didn't keep it to like exactly yes or no, but like, I don't know. Maybe as a Law and Order enjoyer, I enjoy seeing a witness like that. So I think if I was in the courtroom, I would have loved that, to be a fly on the wall that day. But, I mean, there's been so many other people who have been testifying that I just don't care about. Like I said, this story talked about, like, a person who worked for Trump and, like, you know, like, whatever. I think, though, that the one person that I cannot remember her name now, Westerhout, I think she was good for the defense in terms of just saying, like, hey, actually, he did care about Melania Trump, because another part of Stormy Daniels was she went out of her, not went out of her way to say it, but like I mentioned, it's like, no, like Trump even told me that Melania Trump doesn't matter, like it's not a factor, whatever. And like you have Westerhout saying like, oh no, like his wife, you know, was really important to her. There was another witness that, you know, also kind of testified to that effect of like, oh no, like he went out of his way to make sure that like the newspapers that had all these like tabloid rumors about Stormy Daniels, you know, and their sordid affair, like he wanted to make sure that those newspapers didn't hit Melania Trump's, you know, house or whatever. I'm like, okay, I guess that shows that he's a dutiful, caring husband. It's like, I think he really just wanted to do absolute damage control, which in closing, I guess, summation here, I know I've been kind of talking a little long here. Maybe it would have mattered if like this story comes out before, you know, and this was his October surprise and he really couldn't have handled it. But I don't know. I'm saying this as an Ohioan. Like, a lot of motherfuckers didn't care about it, and they don't care about it now, at least. But I don't know, maybe, you know, in another world, Hillary Clinton does win if Stormy Daniels gets her full story out, you know? No non-disclosure agreement or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. But it's neither here nor there now. Like I said, this is more about the trial at the end of the fucking day. And, you know, it's really going to come down to whether or not the jurors believe or don't believe, you know, that this is actually election interference, or is this just like a bunch of, you know, just Trump being Trump shit and like we shouldn't be here. But yeah, that's where I'll leave it. I know I didn't tie exactly a bow on it, but whatever. We'll call it an episode. This is me on a working vacation. Why not? Let's see. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, become a newsie today. I have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. And free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. And let's see here. All the socials, feel free to find me or the podcast there. And YouTube, subscribe. Hit that like button, subscribe, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. If you're not on the YouTube, leave the best review you can leave. I really, it means a lot. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.